Hi, and welcome to the Your Story Studios podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things content creation. And today on the show, I'm joined by a man who needs absolutely no introduction. But for those who may not know who you are you and what are you doing here?
I'm Steve. I'm from Big Steve Creative, and I am here today to step out of my comfort zone and do something that scares me a little bit.
And that's appearing on a podcast, yes. Well, I appreciate you stepping out of your comfort zone and coming here to tell us your story. Steve, tell me, how did you get into video production?
How did I get into video production? I actually started learning photography when I was maybe around 13. And when I got to about 23 or so, I decided to go and study photography. And one of the classes at the course was film. And I'd always been a huge movie buff, loved movies my whole life, did acting classes when I was a child, all that. So once I started studying film, my teacher at the photography school was like, you should go and study film, and you should go and study at the school I studied at, which was Footscray City Films. And so, because it was like past the time to apply to the course and everything like that. But because he knew the woman that ran it, he organised an interview for me. And then, I got in, and I got in only having ever made one film before. And that was the film that I'd made at the photography school. And then, then that teacher also came to teach at the school as well. So that was nice to know someone there already.
Excellent. And then from there, what did you do?
From there, I decided I was going to leave school and be a successsill freelancer.
How did that turn out?
Not well at all. I did get a few jobs here and there, but it was a great school to learn how to make films, and how to be on set and, use gear and all that sort of stuff, all the different roles and things like that. But unfortunately, they didn't really teach you anything in regards to the business side of things, how to network, all that stuff. So I kind of, a lot of the people that I studied with left the course kind of concentrating on one sort of area, but I didn't. There was sort of nothing that was really like, I want to do that. So the outcome of that was that I had done a lot of different roles. I learned that I was good at being like a first AD and being a producer, and I really enjoyed the script writing process and things like that. For a number of years, because I didn't specialize in anything, I spent a lot of time doing this and doing that, getting a job doing this, whatever. And I think it used to be one of my biggest weaknesses. But now, after 15 years, it's actually, I think, one of my biggest strengths, because I do know how to do literally almost everything from ideation to delivering a project to a client. So, which is good on many levels, because, I can do the work myself if need be. Depending on the project, I can then engage people at all different points throughout the process and be able to talk to them and communicate with them effectively and, manage them and everything like that. So, I think it's a huge strength now.
Yeah, excellent. I was going to ask you, did you view that time as wasted time, not knowing exactly what you want to do, but it sounds like it was very valuable.
Yeah, not wasted time, I don't think. When we met recently, we were joking about how, I'd failed at freelancing for 15 years, but I wouldn't put it like that really, because my career has been freelancing, realizing the knowledge gaps and skills gaps that I've had, and then going and finding, a job with the purpose and intention of filling those gaps. So I'd go and work full time somewhere for a while and then try freelancing again and be like, oh, there's still more I need to learn. And so go and find another job, and it's kind of gone like that back and forth.
Tell me about that process. So you started out freelancing, starting your own business, and then tell me about that experience.
Oh, it was rough. It was, I think for a long time, I kind of had another job for a while, and I was kind of doing stuff on the side where I could, but then it kind of became more prevalent, but it was not financially beneficial in any way whatsoever. a huge learning experience, really, I think. Stepping into something, trying to deal with a client at that point in your career, and they're like, obviously have dealt with people before, freelancers and contractors, and you're just like, yeah, I can do that. And I look back at the projects I did back then, and there's a little bit of like, wow, that's not great, but a little bit of nostalgic fondness as well, because, you know, I was trying.
And learning along the way
Yeah.
as well. I've heard the term fail, it stands for first attempt in learning.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I'm a huge learner now. Literally, I'm trying to do a little bit of learning every single day.
So to get this clear, when you finished at university, you didn't learn every single thing about video production. You're still learning today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Never stop learning. You know, that really got drilled into me more than ever at the start of COVID. I was freelancing again and I lost all my work. I was very lucky to secure a full-time job right at the start of the pandemic, which was 100% remote. It was a senior video editor for an online education company, teaching people about cloud computing and whatnot. So quite technical content that we then had to turn into, you know, digestible information for people to be able to learn. I wasn't doing the coursework or anything like that. I was working on this sort of bespoke kind of web series, you know, that would go on the YouTube channel to try and build the community there and everything like that. So it was often quite high level technical concepts, you know, in a way that people could watch and understand. But yeah, from that job, you know, they were all huge on learning, and that was like the best full-time job I've ever had. The company was incredible. As I said, 100% remote. They had a great culture. Every Friday afternoon was set aside for learning, you know, for yourself, for your career. Nobody can say anything to me at this point in time which would convince me that working in an office is better, because I've seen how good working remotely can be, and there's no comparison.
Yeah, it's a different world we live in these days, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I hear stories of how different corporations are trying to get workers back into the building, and it's tough trying to get people on board. And like, well, I was able to work from home for a long time and it was all fine. Why do we have to come back now? So it's an interesting dilemma that I find a lot of companies have these days.
And I get it. You know, I do get it from their point of view as well. Like, they're paying rent for office spaces, and, you know, but some people are extroverted, some people are introverted, some people are a bit of each. I don't think that there should be a hard rule. Like, it kind of should be up to the person. Isn't that what, you know, being equitable is all about? Like, just let people work the way in which is the best way for them to work.
Absolutely. Going back through your employment journey and your business running journey, tell me about how that's worked. So you started off with your own video production company, and then you went to work for someone else, and then you went back, and then you went to someone else. Talk me through that process. When did you know that it was the right time to work for yourself and then work for someone else?
I think a lot of the time when I decided to go and work for myself, it's, you know, on a hope and a dream that I can make it work. You know, so there's always that fear of financial security and whatnot. So to begin with, when I started out, I was fully aware that there was a lot of stuff I needed to learn. And a lot of the time too, it wasn't even necessarily about video related stuff. You know, I'm not saying I came out of, you know, studying film and I was the best editor in the world or anything like that, because, you know, it's certainly not the case as well. But I felt like I could do enough to do certain types of projects. It was like, I need to go and get better at, you know, even just like the process, or get better at communicating with people about projects. So I got a job as a video editor for Tourism Victoria, which was great. It was an interesting job for me at the time. You know, I was in an editing suite. There was no windows in the room, which, you know, I guess you don't really want windows, but I was just sort of facing a white wall with my computer screen. But it was just editing the same footage, the same library of footage over and over and over again in different ways for how people wanted. You know, they're promoting regional Victoria, or they're promoting this part of regional Victoria or the Great Ocean Road, but they want something different to the edit that I did a month ago. So, which is like kind of mind numbing in a way, but I think it was a really good process in the, when you look at the bigger picture, because it did sort of, at the very least, show me that there is so many different ways you can cut the same footage together, to tell a different story or to highlight a different thing. Or so in that regard, I don't ever think back of my time there and think it was a waste or anything like that. So I went back to freelancing, but it again, it didn't really go anywhere. And I actually think I found it even harder to find work that time, but maybe there was a difference in the type of projects I was trying to search for. Actually, I think maybe it was at that point I started doing weddings.
Tell me about the wedding experience.
Look, it was fine. It was good. To be honest, I actually really enjoyed filming the wedding day. Like, so much fun. Everyone's having such a great time. And, it's nice to be around such a loving environment. I think the thing that I found really challenging about weddings was editing. And it wasn't even the editing. It was me not having the appropriate gear to do it effectively. So I'd kind of get through 3/4 of an edit and my computer would start lagging and glitching, and I wasn't financially in a position to, buy a new computer or a new laptop or anything like that. So I just sort of made do. And, at that point in my career, I absolutely hated editing. It was the thing that I hated most about video production, which is funny now because, I work as a video editor and an animator now. So
what changed?
I think just having the right gear, but also I spent, if we skip forward a little bit from probably like 2017, 2018 onwards till, the end of COVID and beyond, but I've slowed down a little bit now. I just watched thousands of hours of content about storytelling, about literally storytelling and little parts of video production that help you tell your story, whether it's using color or using sound or even your shots, your edits, every little thing you can think of, and so much about script writing as well. And it took me, I've always wanted to write a feature film, ever since I was young, ever since I sort of started getting into film. And I remember back then when I was probably 24, I sat down one day and I wrote 96 pages in a week. I just wrote this feature film and it was terrible. It was so bad. I couldn't even tell you. But
did you ever show anyone?
I showed it to a few people. And
what was their feedback? Terrible.
Well, I think a lot of people were being polite, but my teacher that I mentioned earlier, I showed it to him and he was like, that's terrible. He didn't use those words, he was constructive and everything like that.
Room for improvement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But years and years and years. And then during COVID, I'd already written sort of 20, 30 pages of a script that I'd been working on. And then during COVID, I obviously got a bit of time to kill. And I finally, after all these years, I finally wrote a feature film that I was really happy with, shared it with a few people, got, really good feedback. And the funny thing is, the thing that I think got me there was doing it so I could prove to myself that I was capable of doing it with no other expectations. So if nobody else ever reads it, it never gets made, nothing ever happens with it, I'm okay with that because I know that I did it. And, I know now that I am capable of doing it, which is what I set out to do. And it was kind of removing that ego, and removing that expectation is what actually enabled me to do it. From that process, I don't know exactly what it is. Something during COVID and everything shifted for me, priority-wise. And now all of the work that I get now, none of it comes from a place where I'm like, oh, I'd love to do something for that brand, or I'd love this would be great for my show reel or this and that. Now it's like taking on this work is enabling me to live the kind of life that I want and provide the kind of life that I want for my family and my wife, So there's been this massive shift in priorities, and it's funnily enough, I feel like I'm on the path to success now as a freelancer, which I never could confidently say that, when I've freelanced in the past. So yeah, it feels nice.
With all that said, where's the script now? What's the plans with the script? It's in my drawer at home. There's a few little things I'd like to tweak on it. Every time I tell someone that I've written a script, they're all like, especially film people, they're like, what are you doing with it? Is it, if somebody wants to be like, I'll take that and I'll go through the process of getting funding and, and producing and all that, I'll be like, great. I worked for years as a video producer and I do enjoy it. I don't know, just with my mindset at the moment, producing a feature film is not at the front of my mind, so. Yeah, well, talking about today and what you're doing today, tell me about what you are doing in video production today.
Yeah, so today I am working mostly as a video editor and a animator, which I love. I'm working Big Steve Creative, and I do also have a part-time job at the moment. I'm currently doing video work for RSPCA Victoria, which is good. It's fine. It feels nice to, be creating content for a good cause. I was saying before how I didn't specialize in anything. Once I learned animation, which I only learned animation maybe like 3 or 4 years ago now, I kind of learnt, the basics and started doing it, and then just was like, I feel like I should have been just doing this the entire time. So now I'm just on this absolute mission to, upskill as much as I can in animation. I started learning it in that job that I got during COVID. They wanted a video editor who could do animation. And in my interview, I was just completely honest and said, I've got heaps of video editing experience. I had a little bit of After Effects experience from my video producer, video editor role that I had at Sportsbet, but not a lot. And I just told them that. I said, it's an area I've always wanted to learn in and upskill in. And as I said before, they were a really great company that really encouraged learning. They were like, here's your first project, fully animated, well, not fully animated, it was face to camera with a lot of animation. My manager was really great. And, he spent a lot of time with me to, mentor and teach me and show me, go through the processes with me and everything like that. And yeah, literally starting from not much After Effects experience at all to 12 months later, I completed like a 7-episode fully animated web series. And my manager was like, I cannot believe how quickly you've learned how to do all of this.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That sounds like a whole another episode right there to unpack. And then looking into the future, where do you see yourself going?
Yeah, I really want to start because I've always been a drawer. I've always, I did art class away from school as a child as well and as a teenager, and I've always enjoyed doing that. I really want to kind of take my animation work down a route that's like more creative with, my drawing and my art and everything like that. I really want to, I've learned quite a lot about character animation now, but I don't believe that there's any end to learning anything. So, I'm really hoping to amp up my animation work more and also get better at it, at the same time. So, I see some people as character work and whatnot, and I'm like, I can't stop watching this YouTube channel, Kurzgesagt, in a nutshell. They just have these incredible animated videos all about science and health and the environment. And yeah, it's amazing.
Inspiring?
Absolutely.
Excellent. And to finish off today's episode, do you have any inspiring words of wisdom for our audience? Have
a plan. I think a lot of my previous freelancing was not working the way that I wanted it to, because I never sort of stopped to think about how I was going to do it. And this time round, I had been planning to go back to freelancing in my full-time role for quite a long time already. And then I got made redundant. So it just sped my plans up. But I did have a plan and a pathway, and I'm doing a lot of things differently now than I ever did in the past, like doing something like this. If your freelancing is not working the way that you're hoping, in my opinion, it's an education thing. It's learning more about marketing or learning more about social media, learning more about soft skills. Maybe it's also learning about the technical stuff. But if you're already freelancing, then you already feel confident that you can be doing that work. So if it's not working, it must be one of these other areas. It might be you need to learn how to go and find networking events and talking to people, meeting people. Most of my work now comes from word of mouth. I go to so many networking events and motion graphics nights and all this stuff. But then someone that I've spoken to, will message me and be like, oh, I gave you details to someone, and then they'll contact me and I'll get a job. So if things aren't going the way you hoped, have a look at the skills gaps that you have and try and fill them.
Excellent. Great words of wisdom, Steve. Thank you for joining us today on the Your Story Studios podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.